Hello, I'm Michael Kajowski. I want to thank you for joining me here at my channels at TikTok and YouTube. I'm going to try to keep this movie review to 10 minutes or less, but I would like to start off with a summary. Uh, I'm going to review Darren Aronofsky's Caught Stealing, a 2025 August thriller suspense type movie release here in the Milwaukee area. I also happen to think it's a very extremely dark portrayal of street life in the 1990s New York City. So overall, I give it a B, B plus, or B minus. The movie starts off with ex-baseball player Hank Thompson, and he is played by Austin Butler, who is the famous star of 2022's very popular Elvis Presley biopic. In this film, Thompson very unexpectedly and very naively finds himself forced to confront the treacherous, depressing underworld of 1990s New York City. This includes repeated dark scenes of allegedly downtrodden, demoralizing apartment life, and a two-timing New York City police detective, played well, I thought, by Liev Schreiber, who turns out to be a crooked cop and part of the unremittingly shady drug trafficking network that is very severely harassing Thompson throughout the movie. Two violent, sadistic New York City bullies searching for a mysterious key leading to a $4 million stash of hot drug-related cash repeatedly break into Thompson's apartment to terrorize him. They vow to beat him to death or fatally shoot him until he leads them to his zany British punk rock style friend's shadowy and mysterious key. The unwitting protagonist, Thompson, extremely reluctant and even stubborn to defend his own safety through conventional means, such as seeking help from friends, charities, churches, honest police officers, or lawyers, is repeatedly harassed, mugged, blamed, bullied, taken hostage, and beaten throughout the film. Thompson refuses to defend himself with his fists or with a loaded gun until over halfway through the story. He is also repeatedly persecuted by haunting daydreams and nightmares in which he is killed in car crashes or murdered by the drug trafficking 1950s style black leather jacket greasers who are tirelessly ferocious in stalking him. As Thompson is brutally poor and only seeks refuge with his vulnerable pet cat in his disgusting urban apartment, or with his vulnerable and hip girlfriend, played by Zoe Kravitz, who is also helplessly poor in her apartment, everything everywhere seems to be going hopelessly against both of them, especially Thompson. A middle-aged female New York City police detective visits his apartment to take his police report. But when he is stalked by the evil drug traffickers and desperately in need of safety and protection, he calls her phone line, the phone number she gave him, but gets only a cold, impersonal, recorded messages. It never occurs to Thompson during the picture to contact a different police number or a different government agency or some sort of charity or religious organization. Early on, Thompson is transported to the hospital emergency room twice. The first time, he and a buddy are drunk driving when they smash directly into a utility pole, killing Thompson's friend when he is hurled from the passenger seat through the windshield onto the street. Thompson's second trip to the emergency room takes place after Thompson is beaten up by the sadistic drug tormentors. He is found lying on the floor in the hallway outside the front door to his downtrodden apartment, and he tries to convey to a neighbor who is watching the hallway from his doorway that he, Thompson, is suffering from the real thing, that he has been beaten and is bleeding, and that he really needs the other tenant to phone 911. Unfortunately, the neighbors in his apartment building are inadvertently part of the doomsday conspiracy against him. They are not very observant of criminal activity or very trusting of phone calls to authorities such as the police, and they seem to blame Thompson for the redundant, noisy, and rude visits of the violent drug cabal. To make matters even worse, it turns out the New York City police detective, played by Schreiber, is actually paid by the drug traffickers. She is in reality a crooked cop who is bossing the black leather jacket thugs who yanked several stitches out of Thompson's raw surgery sliced abdomen after the operation where he had one of his kidneys removed. Thompson is repeatedly suckered and victimized by the drug hoodlums, the crooked detective, and another pair of veteran drug hoods, all of whom have nothing else to do other than engage in the relentless pursuit of this mysterious key and the $4 million in missing drug money. They even go so far as to murder Thompson's girlfriend, played by Zoe Kravitz, and leave her corpse in Thompson's apartment as another dark, ominous warning. In terms of the emotional side of this story, I don't recall a lot of happy events taking place. I don't recall having seen the motion picture once. I don't recall any funeral in the story or any wedding scene or birthday party or anything like that. And I don't recall anyone investigating or taking seriously the death of Thompson's girlfriend other than Thompson himself. Later in the story, there is a brief pocket of warmth when Thompson telephones his mother to warn her about these violent, sadistic drug traffickers, but she also never significantly appears on screen. The 1990s drug hoods also injure Butler's pet cat, which is seen hobbling around with a white bandage on one of its paws. They did not attempt to bring any levity into this picture. As I said, it has repeatedly dark themes. Despite all the odds being against Thompson, the character played by Austin Butler, Caught Stealing wraps up the ending in conventional Hollywood style with the good guy, played by Austin Butler, Hank Thompson, surviving and all his antagonists winding up dead. If that's the happy ending in this. Everyone who opposed him, I believe, wound up dead. Approximately 5 people, a crooked police detective and 4 crooked drug traffickers. Thompson makes use of his twisted nightmares that haunt him throughout the picture. He uses them to come up with gimmicks in the second half of the story to outwit the 5 evil killers who are taking turns stalking him. The film also has no serious sports scenes, even though its title, Caught Stealing, might be interpreted as a reference to a fast base runner stealing second base or something like that. I can only recall one batting cage shot where Thompson is slapping one pitching machine fastball after another into a net. So overall, as I mentioned at the beginning, I give Caught Stealing. I'm willing to recommend to people to see the film, but it's sort of a grudging thumbs up in the style. Since this film goes back to the 1990s in the style of the famous TV movie reviewer Siskel and Ebert from Chicago in the 1990s. I give it a grudging thumbs up. I don't think that's a bad grade. To say that it gets a B plus, a B, or B minus with me. The film did remind me a little of the genre classic hit Martin Scorsese's Robert De Niro's Taxi Driver, which also exaggerated the dark side of life in New York, and it reminded me of other films about drug dealers from the 1970s, not the 1990s, such as like Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left, or the very famous Rosemary's Baby, which I felt did have some upbeat themes in that one. For me, it was kind of expensive at approximately $18.50. So, but I do give it a B, B plus, or B minus.